It started with a chicken nugget. Not just any nugget, one that looked exactly like a baby zombie riding a chicken. Brain saw it, froze, whispered, "It's a sign." 30 seconds later, he'd declared war on the lunchroom. Tater tots flew, kids screamed, we got detention, and that's when things got weird. Welcome to Brain and Bob versus the Chicken Jockey Chicken Nugget. Let's go. Chapter 1. The Incident. Setting. Cafeteria. Loud. Greasy. The smell of tater tots and doom. We were inching forward in the lunch line like prisoners awaiting sentence. The kind of sentence that comes with a scoop of grayish-green mashed potatoes and a square slice of pizza that somehow manages to be both burnt and soggy. Brain was bouncing up and down beside me, practically vibrating. That's usually the last sign before something terrible happens. He's not just named Brain, he's my literal brain who jumped out of my head a few years ago. It's a long story, but all you need to know is he has eyes on stalks, 2 noodly appendages he walks around on, and more energy than 4 Red Bulls and a gallon of coffee. My other best friend, Wednesday, stood behind us, earbuds in, pretending not to know us, which was fair. That's when Brain froze. Like, fully froze. 1 foot in the air, tray half lowered, mouth open. I nudged him. Keep moving, you're causing a traffic jam. He didn't blink. Instead, he pointed at the tray of nuggets under the sneeze guard like he'd seen a ghost. Or worse. "That chicken nugget," he whispered, "looks exactly like a baby zombie riding a chicken." I squinted. "It's a nugget." "No," he breathed, eyes wide. "It's a sign." And then, because this is my life, Brain raised the nugget to the flickering fluorescent light like it was forged in Mount Doom. His pupils went full saucer. His voice echoed across the linoleum tiles. "The chicken jockey has risen!" He flung it skyward like a prophet tossing bread to the heavens. And then all nuggets broke loose. A 6th grader shrieked, "Run!" and dove under a table. Someone started clucking like a chicken. A spoon was hurled with questionable accuracy. Trays crashed. Milk exploded. Tater tots bounced like shrapnel. Brain grabbed a ketchup packet and smeared it across his face like war paint. "We must fight!" I tried to restrain him, which mostly meant clinging to his weird, fleshy brain body as he flailed like a possessed raccoon. Wednesday, she pulled her hoodie tight, stared at the floor, and muttered, "I don't know them, I don't know them, I don't know them, I don't know them." Cut to the principal's office. Brain was still breathing hard. Wednesday was shooting lasers out of her eyes. I was mentally composing my apology to Mom. The verdict? Detention duty. Kitchen. After school. Probably forever. And yes, this was all because of a chicken nugget. Chapter 2. The Punishment. The kitchen was grim, like horror movie set grim. The kind of place where stainless steel has given up and turned a permanent shade of brown. The air smelled like vinegar, bleach, and the haunting echo of old fish sticks. Regret clung to the walls like grease. It was probably actually mixed in with the grease. I dunked the mop into a bucket of lukewarm sadness and tried not to think about how many other kids had been punished here. Probably hundreds. Maybe thousands. All of them betrayed by a friend with bad ideas and zero self-control. Behind me, Brain gasped. Not like a normal gasp, but the kind he makes when he thinks he's discovered something important. Which is always a bad sign. "Did you know," he said reverently, staring at a sun-bleached poster, "bread used to be its own food group?" I looked. It was a mounted food pyramid from 1984. Grain products had been an entire triangle all to themselves, just stacked high with cartoon loaves of bread and boxes of cereal. "Focus. Mop," I said, dunking again. Wodenstay didn't say a word. She scrubbed the wall in slow, furious circles, jaw clenched like she was cleaning us out of her life. Clang! I turned just in time to see Brain awkwardly catching a rolling steel pot like he was fielding a ground ball in slow motion. "It leapt at me," he explained. The pot had hit the far wall with a weirdly hollow bang. Then, like a bad magic trick, a chunk of the wall slid open. Behind it, a cramped vertical shaft with dusty tracks and a tiny platform inside, about the size of a laundry basket. "It's a dumbwaiter," Wodenstay said, blinking. Brain tilted his head. "Like a stupid butler?" "No," she said. "It's like a tiny elevator for food. They used to use them to move food trays up and down between floors. You'd load it up, send it up or down, and ta-da, no stairs." She stepped closer, squinting at the faded sign just above the opening. "Kitchen Beta, staff use only, closed by order of school district, 1979? Brain moved like he was cracking his knuckles, but he doesn't have knuckles, so it just sounded like tendons. It was strange. "Oh no," I muttered. "Oh yes," he grinned. Chapter 3. Descent into the basement. Riding a dumbwaiter wasn't on my bucket list, mostly because I never expected to fit inside one, but there we were, me, Brain, and Wodenstay, squeezed into a rickety metal box designed to carry lasagna trays, not 12-year-olds. The thing groaned like it hadn't moved since disco was cool, creaking and rattling as it descended through layers of dust and time. I gripped the side. This feels like the start of a documentary about what not to do. "It's historical," Brain whispered, eyes wide with joy. "We're rediscovering lost lunch technology." Wodenstay didn't say anything. She just stared at him like she was willing the dumbwaiter to collapse purely out of spite. The moment the floor beneath us jolted to a stop, the doors creaked open with a sound like a haunted oven door. We stepped into a sealed-off sub-kitchen that looked like it had been abandoned mid-meal 50 years ago. The walls were covered in moldy paper printed with cartoon fruits, apples with faces, oranges in overalls, a banana playing tennis. They all stared at us with faded, peely eyes. "Welcome to the fruit fear zone," I muttered. On one wall hung a series of ancient "No running in the cafeteria" posters. One of them featured a kid mid-sprint being tackled by a cartoon lunch tray with a whistle. Another showed a student slipping on a spilled milk carton with the word "regret" in bold red letters underneath. And then, in the center of the room, was it. A hulking machine the size of a baby elephant with no clear purpose except to make you uncomfortable. It looked like a cross between a self-serve dispenser and a meat grinder, with pipes snaking around it and feeding a chute labeled "Input Zone." Wodenstay tilted her head. "What is that?" There was a dusty manual lying on a nearby prep table, like someone had once meant to explain this thing and gave up halfway through. I wiped off the manual and read aloud. "The Lunch Lumperator 3000? The future of bulk food dispersal." Brain gasped like he'd just been his hero. "No," I said, stepping in front of him. "Don't touch anything." "I'm just looking," he said innocently, then leaned in, wrapped a noodly appendage around a lever, and yanked it. With a heavy ka-chunk, the machine rumbled to life. Somewhere deep inside it, something sloshed. Chapter 4. Activation and Chase. The Lumperator 3000 sputtered once, then again, then belched out a burst of steam that smelled like a burnt Salisbury steak and ancient regret. Somewhere inside its metal guts, gears clanked and a motor screamed to life. The whole thing shuddered, and then, like a nightmare on wheels, it lurched forward on rusty, grease-slick treads. One of the side tubes twitched, then snapped up like a cobra and hurled a blob of something brown and vaguely meat-shaped straight across the room. It splattered against the wall with a web. Brain flinched and yelled, "I was trying to help! Run!" I shouted, grabbed him by his eye stalks, and dragged him backwards. "But the sign says no running in the cafeteria! Do it anyway!" Another tube launched a half-formed meatloaf blob the size of a grapefruit. It whizzed past my ear and landed with a squelch on the floor. We bolted. Wednesday grabbed an old cafeteria tray from a pile by the sink. She spun around just in time to deflect the flying meat glob midair like a medieval knight. Blocked, she snapped, then charged after us. The machine groaned and picked up speed, spewing food like a busted buffet cannon. We sprinted through the sub-kitchen, dodging relics of food tech that had definitely not passed inspection since 1979. First, we passed a tray carousel, spinning wildly, launching trays like deadly frisbees. Brain ducked and screamed, "Tray blades!" Next came a pudding dispenser, twitching violently, firing gobs of lukewarm chocolate goop every few seconds like it had developed opinions. Then the spaghetti roller came alive, ropes of noodles lashing out across the walkway, tangling around Brain's what would have been his ankles. He kicked free with a yell, "It's alive! The pasta is alive!" We skidded around a corner, jumped a busted fryer, and dove into a rusty pantry door. I slammed it shut, threw my body against it. Something heavy splattered against the other side. The room went quiet, except for the faint, menacing whir of the lumperator outside, thumping like it was thinking. We were all panting, covered in food, possibly emotionally damaged for life. "I hate everything," I said. "Except nuggets," Brain wheezed. "They're what started this whole journey. Their deliciousness." Wednesday didn't say a word. She just grabbed a can of creamed corn from a dusty shelf and gently bonked him on the head. Chapter 5. Teamwork mode engaged. Inside the pantry, it smelled like old beans and betrayal. "You always do this," I hissed at Brain, wiping pudding from my eyebrow. "What? Why would you pull the lever?" "He said not to," Wednesday snapped, arms crossed, hair streaked with meat sauce. "I told you. We all told you. Everyone told you." Brain held up his hands like we were the unreasonable ones. Okay. I didn't mean to start a meatloaf war. I just thought," he glanced down, "maybe it wanted a friend." We all stared at him. "You thought the giant food dispensing murder machine was just lonely?" I said. Brain looked at the bottom of his noodly appendages. "I mean, we woke it up. Maybe it's been waiting down here all this time, just watching, listening, wanting someone to eat the food it makes." There was a beat of silence. Wednesday frowned. "That's horrifying." But I felt something click in my brain. "Wait, say that again?" Brain blinked. "That it wanted..." No, before that. You said we woke it up." I replayed the last few minutes in my head. The moment Brain pulled the lever, the second it started launching blobs, how it followed us, how it sped up when Brain screamed. "It's not just running wild," I said slowly. "It's responding to us." "Movement," Wednesday added. "Sound. Maybe even emotion," Brain offered like he was pitching a Pixar reboot called The Sad Meat Grinder. I pointed at him. "You're the loudest, the bounciest, the you-ist," he nodded solemnly. "I am very me." "So you're going to distract it," Wednesday said, arms folding, "while we sneak around and shut it down." Brain perked up like we'd just offered him free slime. "You want me to be the bait?" "No," I said. "We want you to do what you do best. Cause chaos." He struck a pose like a chicken about to drop the hottest mixtape of the year. "Finally," he grinned, "a plan that speaks my language." Scene 6. Victory via chaos. From behind the cracked pantry door, I watched Brain puff himself up and take heroic steps out into the chaos. He grabbed a packet of ketchup from inside his folds, because of course he had one there, and reapplied his war paint. "Meat monster!" he bellowed, raising both eyes high. "Prepare to face the Chicken Jockey!" Then he charged, like full-on flailing charge. Eyeballs windmilling, noodly appendages slipping, screaming like a lunatic who just discovered battle was an elective. The lumperator instantly locked onto his movement and let out a guttural whirr, like it had finally found its nemesis. Tubes snapped upright, gears shifted, and it lurched forward, chasing Brain down the grease-slick tiles, hurling meatloaf blobs like some sort of possessed cafeteria trebuchet. "Now," I whispered. Wednesday and I slipped out of the pantry and crept behind the machine, ducking low as it blasted another meat glob past Brain's brain. He cartwheeled into a dodge. I'll give him credit. He truly was a chaotically majestic little creature there. We reached the back panel where the control box sat, half open, wires exposed, and a thick metal crank labeled Emergency Shutdown. Authorized personnel only. Wednesday grabbed it on 3. 1, I said. 3, she said, and yanked it before I could argue. The machine shuddered violently. Its arms froze mid-flail. Tubes sagged, and the meatloaf launcher fizzled with one last wet. Then the lights flickered. Once, twice, and the whole basement went still. We stood there, panting, covered in food. Brain slid to a stop and threw his eyes up in the air. Wednesday wiped mashed potatoes off her sleeve. Okay, that was actually kind of awesome. I looked over at Brain, who was grinning like a ketchup-covered lunatic. Still mostly your fault, I muttered. Exactly, he said, taking a bow. You're welcome. The end. If you like stories like this, make sure to like and subscribe. Check out everything we got going on. And make sure to check out season 1 of our comic strip available on Amazon. It's a good book.